Hello, everybody, and welcome to Electric City Sentai Denzicaster, your somewhat regularly scheduled video cast about the wonderful world of Tokusatsu. I'm your host, Mike Brown, this week joined by Roger Broom.
Hello.
Normally late to the room, Broom, but he showed up on time this week. So,
Rare.
Hey, very. We are also joined by our live studio audience.
You're welcome for Roger showing up on time.
So,
They seem really excited to be here.
yes, but this is going to be a two-man show because, well, this particular show we're watching today is right up Roger's wheelhouse because...
I didn't even know I had a wheelhouse, but
I
it
was
is there.
I was giving you a cue.
That's true.
I know, he did.
Kamen Rider Amazons. Plural.
Amazon! Someone figured out the cue. Just not the guy on camera with
There
me.
we are.
So, we are taking a brief break from Kamen Rider Drive. Dave the Head and Joe couldn't join us for this taping, so we're going to hold off on doing Drive until they, one or the other, or both get back with us. In the meantime, we're going to be watching some other cool stuff, and we are indeed watching Kamen Rider Amazons, plural. This is one that kind of came in under the radar. Basically, for the first time since, actually, Amazon in 1974, there are two Kamen Rider series in the same calendar year getting their full release. Now, yeah, there's the whole wonky thing about the Kamen Rider shows splitting the year, so they kind of come out half in one year, half the next. So that notwithstanding, Ghost debuts this year, and so does Kamen Rider Amazons, which the whole goal is for it to be a more mature, more adult Kamen Rider series, and it airs on Amazon Prime, which is just
Amazon on Amazon.
Amazon on Amazon.
I understand.
Which seems to be the whole theme of the series. It's Amazon on Amazon.
More or less, yeah.
Yeah. But it's the inspiration is sort of, as I've heard and read, sort of the Daredevil, Jessica Jones.
The darker Marvel Netflix series.
Yeah, exactly. And so we just got done watching the first two episodes, which is the first time I've watched them. Same thing for Raj.
Oh, yeah.
So we are going to probably refer to most of these jabronis by their, well, some, yes.
Yeah.
But we're probably going to be referring to them either by their hero or monster name or by some strange pseudonym that we'll use until we figure out what they're all called.
Oh, yeah.
But as we figured out thus far, there's some sort of shadowy organization, which is called Nozoma, which for anyone out there who is terrible with anagrams, it's Amazon spelled backwards. There's some shadowy science organization out there called Nozoma. There's some chick in charge that engineered a virus. The virus likes eating human cells.
And she has deep knowledge of the Amazon virus, and she knows more than everybody else in the series at this point.
Right.
It's safe to say.
And sometime 2 years ago, about 4,000 hapless victims were injected with this virus, and all of them wound up being more or less low-jacked with an armlet that would have 2 years' worth of drugs to suppress the virus.
Yeah.
The virus gives them powers. The virus gives them some sort of mutated form. The virus also makes them want to eat people.
And the virus eats human cells, and then pretty much the drugs in the armband keep the virus at bay for 2 years until the 2-year mark. When the 2-year mark, the armband runs out of drugs, the virus comes into the system, eats human cells, and manifests as the Amazon creature.
Yes, and I'm, you may have noticed, and it's the actual first video shot here in our new studio will probably have been up by now, but this is the new look for the ECS studios after I moved. Behind me, the wall of figure arts, and I'm maneuvering to actually get to the Amazon figure art. Now this is, of course, the old school, and we'll try and hold them up here fairly close to the camera. This is the old school 70s look for Amazon, but they did a really good job with everything. The armlet that they wear resembles the Gigi armlet, or Gigi armlet, that they used in the Amazon television series. So there you go. But that style armlet is the armlet that is on all of our poor victims throughout the course of the series. We'll put him back here somewhere for easy reference later. Well,
and then they keep the little motorcycle, like I call it the motorcycle handle belt.
It's sort of supposed to look like that. So you do use that style
they
belt.
actually use it to turn it to when they hit the Amazon power, they rev the belt, and then that makes a stronger Amazon power, more or less, because he turned into an Amazon the first time,
Right.
just as an Amazon, but he turned into an Amazon with a belt, and then he was an Amazon Omega, different suit, stronger Amazon.
Yeah. And so in the original series, the belt did nothing except it was there for decoration and it was a grappling hook. But in the new series, they actually do use it to modify or upgrade the Amazon powers. So we know that there's a group of people out there who
4,000 subject zeros.
Yes.
that don't know what's going on, and I don't know, was it? I guess it was. Is it like triggered by any reason? Like hard?
Like meds go off.
Like Amazon, like do emotions or anything trigger the change?
It doesn't look that way. It basically seems that when you run out of meds and you get the munchies, you turn into an Amazon. And Amazon is basically in this show a pseudonym for monster.
Yeah.
Because the spider, which traditionally, going back to the old Showa writer tradition, spider's our first monster, and a bat is our second one.
Yeah.
But both of these are called Amazons in the series. So
or pests by the extermination crew.
Yes, there is a group of people out there whose job is to exterminate Amazons.
Hired by said company.
Yes, hired by Nizoma. So you have also our first heroic Amazon we see is called in the credits the Moth Amazon. I don't really see it. It looks kind of more like a mole thing to me because it's got like a drill face.
Yeah.
And then you have a Dragonfly Amazon, which is our second one to appear. That's quasi-heroic. It's actually another member of the Extermination Squad. And that one looks more like a Kamen Rider with the bug eyes visible and so on.
Yeah.
The two main characters we see that are actually the Amazons in this one are Amazon Alpha and Amazon Omega. Yeah. Amazon Alpha pretty much looks the closest to the classic 70s one, except he's red. And then you have Amazon Omega, who initially looks like a feral version of the original Amazon. Then with the belt looks like a
green version of that, like a green and like red highlighted version
of
that.
It looks more like a modern, updated version of the old suit, because there are some significant differences.
Yeah, better armor, better probably materials and everything like that.
So, just for the feel, they wanted a darker, grittier series. I'd say they got that.
They got that. You can see the extermination team just starts out, and they're pretty much just like any exterminator. They're called to a certain area where there's been a sighting of a creature, and they go in, and then you see him. I mean, I guess we should just talk about the entire episode.
Might as well.
Seen it probably by now. But
here's hoping you have. If you haven't, we're sorry.
Yeah, spoiler alert coming, or has already been here. But they get to a house and there's body parts everywhere. There's body parts hanging from webs and stuff like that. That they realize that they've got a spider, pretty much creature that they're tracking. And then they go through like pretty much entirely webbed up house, and they see like desiccated bodies, like a spider would eat a person and suck all the blood out of a creature and leave it there, like in some certain mythologies and some certain spiders. And then they work up to the second floor and they find out what they're finding out what they're looking for.
Yeah. And so it is a lot darker, a lot more violent than the average Kamen Rider series. Skipping forward a little bit, I mean, we actually do see the monsters trying to eat people and succeeding, to be perfectly honest. And that was one of the things about the original Amazon TV show from the 70s. It was incredibly violent for a Kamen Rider series. It was the first... I hate to use the term ultra-violent because that really wasn't around in the 70s. But it's the first truly violent, graphically so, Kamen Rider television series, and Amazon's kind of lives up to that reputation.
Oh yeah, because the original Amazon would attack with his hands and like his mouth and his claws, pretty much his hands on on pretty much any fights, anything like that. He would come at him like an animal.
And rip things off, which we do see here. We see body parts get ripped off.
And then beaten with the person with his own arm.
Yes, that would be one of the spiders.
Excellent strategy, by the way.
Yeah.
Usually works.
The costumes themselves, because this is a really tough sell when you figure you're taking something, a design that in and of itself is 42 years old.
Oh, yeah.
And frankly, I mean, I held the figure up a minute ago. It looked cheesy in 74.
Oh, yeah.
So taking that to now 2016 and trying to update it, I like it a lot. It echoes the original costume, while at the same time, it looks distinctly different from anything we have currently out of the newer Kamen Rider looks and costumes. I mean, that's one of the reasons I guess we have the thing back, the shelf of suits back here for reference.
Yeah.
But I mean, you compare it to Ghost, which I know you haven't seen any of Ghost yet, but if you were to compare it to Ghost or Drive or Gaim or Forze or any of the modern riders,
it's radically different.
It looks distinctly different from them. And I really do like the look. What do you think of basically the costumes, the production design?
I enjoyed the look, and it's like they kicked up production value a lot. It's like a lot of the direction and stuff like that, like the low angle shots for some of the things and everything. It's like they've kind of kicked up their game from everything else, not just a static, like, here comes people and here comes something else. They're actually getting more angles on everything, which I like. This kind of speaks to the production value, and they took more time to go through and then go through this series, and then they probably storyboarded it and we want this shot here, and then we want it to move this way, as opposed to just kind of throwing it together more like the older series felt thrown together.
I wonder if it's a case, and I'll need to do some research on this. I wonder if this is a case of they actually had the time to shoot this, or if it's like the weekly Kamen Rider series where it's boom, you have to pump one out a week. Yeah. I'm wondering if it was,
and you have X amount of time to make it.
Right. I mean, I'm wondering if it's, hey, we've got 7 days to film an episode beginning to end, or can we take our time?
Taking your time is always the best offer. Is always the best option, really, because I mean, when you ran stuff, you got one take to do it in, and you try to do it again, and you don't get a lot to work with. More takes you have, the more pool of stuff that you have to take from, which means you have a better product at the end.
If they manage to actually take their time to produce this, I'm going to be shocked, because that means they kept this hidden for a while, which doesn't happen in Tokusatsu. I mean, they're selling toys, so they publicize the hell out of it well in advance so that they can say, hey, and this is what's going to be in the stores. But I haven't seen a whole lot of toy ad stuff for Amazon in general. In general, there's been one ad for a couple of vinyl toys and maybe some figure arts. And then of course the show itself, we're not getting the whole toyetic, let's introduce all the toys and powers kind of thing, which speaks more to this isn't meant for kids.
This isn't meant for kids. It's meant for a more mature audience. And then there was a lot of people, like, for instance, when Marvel started looking at Deadpool, they're like, oh, it's a superhero movie, but Deadpool's more of a mature subject matter. So it's going to be for older fans, targeting the older fan base. It's not for children just because it's a Marvel movie.
Right.
You got to look at the subject matter and on what the production is focusing on.
With this show...
Go ahead. No, I'm done.
Okay. With this show, looking at episode 1 is basically just setup. We meet the extermination crew, we get a feel for the world, and that it's not going to be a nice place.
Pretty much, yeah. I love the immersion between the extermination crew, because I mean they're like a family. They live together, they ride together, they eat together, they sleep together in one little room. And they are just everything. These people are brothers and sisters to each other, and they do everything together. For these 2 years, is what we're told in the show, that they've been doing this for 2 years. They were hired 2 years ago to just exterminate these pests, as they're called. That they're just like monsters. They just pop up, and we just destroy them, and then they go away. And they actually have instructions. They have a step-by-step process. They take these things down. They set up. If you've noticed in the show, they set up they wrangled it into a certain area, and they set up an electrical grid around it.
Right.
So if it tried to run away, it would be shocked. And they mostly use electricity to take the creatures down at the first part. And they work as a cohesive unit. I mean, they've been in this for a while, and they've seen a lot of stuff, but they don't have all the information of what they're doing. They're just sent to do a job to destroy this thing and move on. That's all they know.
And that's kind of what gets us into episode 2, and you actually do get a little bit of a little bit of gravity when one of their own is already in Amazon. One of them is already the Moth Amazon, which is basically their secret weapon.
Yep.
Everyone weakens it. Yes, everyone weakens it so that Ryusuke can then go in. At least I think Ryusuke.
He can go and then turn into the monster and then beat it down and then win. And it's just like everything.
Mamoru.
Yeah.
So Ryusuke is the one that turns into an Amazon going forward.
Yeah.
Becomes the Dragonfly Amazon towards the end of episode 1 and into episode 2, I think. And Ryusuke, when it comes to the point that they realize they're going to have to put down one of their own, you actually get a little bit of gravity.
Yeah, you get them to get them throwing back and say, no, I don't want to do this. And like, we've been killing monsters so far, as in they're vermin, they're monsters, they're pests. But this is one of our own. I don't want to kill him.
And they don't see. We get the vibe that they don't interact or see the human forms of any of these Amazons before they show up as pests.
Yeah.
This time they actually see that. And that's something deep that you don't get out of one of these shows.
Yeah, you don't get that normally. You don't think about the human aspect of this was a pure person for a while with a life up to a certain point where it stopped and then they changed and turned into something else. There's a life there. There's a history. There's family. There's friends. There's that whole microcosm that he's created for himself. And then pop, monster, and then the life goes on a separate course.
With the tail end of episode 1 and then going into episode 2, we actually meet the two Amazons, the two title characters. Amazons Alpha, the red one, and Omega, the green one. As far as anything I've seen, Amazon Omega is going to be our hero. And Alpha, not so much. So, which seems to be part of what we're seeing out of here. And we find out that Alpha just wants to kill all the Amazons.
Yes, that's his like thing in life. He's going to kill every Amazon because once an Amazon gets to a certain point where they manifest, they go for people. They start to hunt people and eat people. He's going to try and curb the threat and kill all the Amazons, all 4,000 of them, pretty much.
But we don't necessarily know why, because he's telling us, I've never eaten a person.
Yeah.
So is he doing it out of some I want to save people, or is he doing it because he doesn't want competition?
Yeah. Or he wants to kill and eat what he kills.
Yeah.
It's hard to say.
I mean, there's a lot of different rationales behind it. But he seems to be the only Amazon that's actually in control of himself.
Yeah. And he can also speak while in the Amazon form. The newly made Amazon Omega couldn't speak in Amazon form yet. He hasn't gotten to that point yet.
But that's also a nice little callback to the original show, because in the original Amazon in the 70s, for about the first half of the show, Amazon didn't speak English or Japanese or
anything, because it came from super science.
Yeah,
and swam the ocean to get there.
Yeah, we get a few little winks and nods. For instance, he apparently manages to run, once he transforms into Omega, he manages to run from the rooftops of Tokyo to wherever in...
the outskirts of whatever place that they're at the time.
The wilderness of Japan.
Yeah, the woods.
In what seemed like a rip-off special effect from The Flash. But... hey, what you gonna do? I mean, there's only so many ways to do super speed, and that's what they picked.
That is true.
But we do actually get, I think, as if to remind us, it's still Kamen Rider. We do get some of the trappings of Kamen Rider at certain points. We get the henshins themselves with the belts. Of course, in this, they're saying Amazon instead of henshin, which again harkens back to the old show. Yeah. And we do get... the finishing move out of Amazon Omega, which in this show they call it, I think it was Violent Punish. Which, if you watch the original Amazon, was Dai Setsudan, which basically means great slice.
Pops his blades out on his arm, goes through, boom.
Yeah. And we actually, something they never quite pulled off overly well on the 70s show, but special effects now are a wonderful thing. We actually do see the monster fall in half, and half of him stays here, and the other half topples down the mountain.
Yep.
The fights in this are short, brutal. When we do see a human die, and that's something that you don't see a lot in Kamen Rider, a human outright dies. He gets fed on, he starts coughing up blood.
It actually makes the statement that I don't mind that it's you eating me, because it was his friend.
Right. I think for the first episodes, we've set a tone here that's going to be really interesting to follow.
Everybody is expendable here. We're not going to have any golden calf characters in this. I mean, if something comes at you, you could die. I mean, that character could be over. Boom.
So, first impressions of the show as a whole, and what we're looking at, what you're hoping to see going forward.
I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very well put together. They've upped the production value. They've upped the way they write the stories and everything. They made it generally eerie and kind of creepy going in, especially when the extermination team gets to this house and they take it room by room, looking at all the stuff that's going on. You get to set a groundwork of what are they fighting here. There you got body parts hanging from webs. You got desiccated corpses. There's like a whole family here that this spider has eaten, and it's gone. And like you just see the people's reactions and everything, and then just like the interpersonal relationships between the team is just one of the best parts of the show. Like working forward, because the team seems to be a major focus of the show. How they treat the Amazons and how they chase after the Amazons, more or less. Because they're not really hired to kill the Amazons. The corporation gives them the order to like let them go away as long as they don't attack you. Let them run free, just attack pests. And They give them designation numbers of which creature to destroy.
And when you say Amazon, you're referring specifically to Alpha and Omega.
Yes.
Okay. I really enjoy what I've seen so far. Josh, who is here with us, he is the one who gave us the nice scream on cue earlier. He mentioned while we were sitting down watching, and the more I've thought about it, the more I think it's accurate. This show feels a lot like Kamen Rider Blade to me, which I don't think you've seen it yet.
No.
But Blade has this almost eerie vibe, and it's a group of people who hunt monsters. It's their job, except in that show, they are the Kamen Riders themselves, are the ones who go hunt the monsters.
Yeah.
And it does have that sort of vibe to it in that it's supposed to have a dark aura, a very creepy aura, that
like a foreboding vibe.
Yes, very, and hopefully it's not the slow roll that Blade was, because I think it's what was it? It's taking you 2 years to get through 30 episodes.
That's right.
Yeah, there you go. So, but you get that whole dark feel out of the show, and that, like you said, foreboding vibe. I think it's a good term for it. But it's you can still see the merchandising behind Blade, and I don't see it here, which is not to say a good or bad thing. We've said 1,000 times on this show, and we'll say it 1,000 times again. If you ever think that one of these shows is anything more or less than a 20-minute toy commercial, you are grossly mistaken.
Oh yeah,
but,
they can make toys out of anything.
Yeah, but on this, you can tell that there are certain shows like Ninja. I thought was very guilty of this. Drive, I honestly think, is guilty of it in certain places, where they construct the show commercially first and creatively second.
Oh yeah, like each character's certain color, certain bright color, differentiate themselves so they can make a toy line of each character, and then have more accessories come out. They can make the accessories for kids, etc., and then merchandising goes from there.
Not this one.
Not
this one. I think they come with the creative part first, and then the commercial stuff will just follow.
Oh yeah.
But I'm very much with you, Raj. I think the team is going to prove very interesting. The human story is not often a story in Kamen Rider that is overly great. So we'll see where that goes. I'm very interested to see the dynamic between the two main Amazons, Alpha and Omega. I'm very interested to see if they try to tie it back to the original Amazon television series at any point.
I have a feeling that there's something in there from the original, like somebody in the original grew up and this is what came of it, or something like that.
I kind of wonder if that's a possibility, or if there's just going to be something totally new on.
And I really love the team dynamic. It gives you the feeling of something like Aliens or Starship Troopers, where you have a cohesive team going in and trying to eliminate a menace over here. Something happens, it gets blown out of proportion, and kind of moves from there.
The best thing I see out of this show so far, I made the remark when we first started watching, I hope it's not Amazon the First, which is a reference to Kamen Rider the First, one of the early movies.
So bad.
Don't wait till we watch the next, which is coming. Tommy Brevard, wherever you are it will probably be the final episode we do, because I'm sure the entire cast will quit. It'll just be me. But don't be surprised if the next week you see me and a whole bunch of new people you've never met before.
Everyone that watched is going, shame!
Shame! So, but my fear was that it would be Amazon the First, and when I say that is like I didn't want it to just be a strict retelling of Amazon. With updated effects, because I wasn't really sure something like that would work. And I thought when they originally were talking about doing the first, and the idea was that there would be the first and next, and they would redo most of the show of Heroes, I was always curious, well, what the hell are they going to do when they get to Amazon? Because he's the odd boy out. And in this, that's not the case. So we don't know, why is it called Amazon? Why does he have this motif where he's a lizard instead of an insect like all the rest of them? Why is it... why is there a belt? Why is there even a belt? I mean, that's the thing. None of them have belts except for Alpha and Omega. So why the hell is there a belt? These are questions that I really hope going forward they answer. And
merchandising?
Yeah.
So we can make a belt. So we can make a little plastic belt and people will buy it.
Yes. The only question I have for myself long term out of this show is I have an Amazon figure art. Will I get an Amazon's figure art when they come out? Probably. I'm an addict, so.
Because he loves them.
Yes. But so far, so good. we're going to watch some more of Amazon's in the coming weeks here on Denzicaster. So hope you enjoy that. Find the fan subs where you can, because they are so far so good. Until next time, for Roger Broom, I'm Mike Brown. We'll see you later on Denzicaster.
Bye-bye.